Hello and welcome to Relation EQ. I'm Julie Sims,
I'm Brian Sims.
and this is our first episode. We are finally here. How about it?
Finally here. We thought maybe this day would never come, but it's actually here. And so today we want to talk about some ideas of things to work on yourself. So stay tuned.
Welcome to Relation EQ. Join Julie and her guests as they share their stories to provide powerful insight for fine-tuning relationships that matter to you. Now here's your host, Julie Sims.
Julie, what do you have for us?
Well, Brian, I really think that when we start with relationships, honestly, the first person you need to look at is yourself. That you have to truly take a good evaluation of who am I and maybe how are people experiencing me.
Yeah.
That, that is where you take a look in the mirror and you ask yourself some hard questions.
That can be a little uncomfortable though.
It could be, but it's very important that you need to know, how do I come across? Am I overbearing? Am I holding back, too shy? Maybe I'm a very hard nut to crack, and people try to engage with you and you don't give much back, and they move on to someone else, and you've just maybe lost an opportunity to get to know someone that could have been really valuable to you.
Yeah. So insight into yourself is really the key to insight into others.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's many ways that you can process and look at who you are. There's a lot of personality tests out there, and you and I have both taken several over the years. And the many people are heavy reliers on the Enneagram, and they find a lot of good information and insight into other people by understanding that. It's good to know what your number is. I think I'm a 6. I think
I
you're
have
a
no idea what
1.
number I am.
Anyhow, we need to go review that. But another one of the tests that really helped us has been the core value test. And
Yeah.
it is such a simple test. It takes what, like 3 minutes? It's one
Mhm.
sheet of paper, but it is just a listing of words. And you take the test simply by looking at the list. And when you run across a word that really resonates with you, you circle it. And you just go through, I think I said about 100 words.
Right.
And when we took the test, even just the number of words that we circled was very interesting. I think on the 100, I circled like 32. And
I
if I
think I had
recall,
maybe a half a dozen.
if that many.
Yeah.
But
I like to focus in on what I know.
absolutely. And honestly, that was one of the things that I learned about Brian, who happens to be my husband, is that he is very focused. He is very focused and he is very excellent and high quality at a number of good things. Where I'm more like a shotgun, he's a pistol, where he direct shot, and I'm more like a shotgun with a lot of pellets going everywhere. And so even that was interesting to learn about each other. Um, Several of the words that Brian had circled really, even though I knew it about living with him for as long as we have, is that when I saw it, the word, it really resonated with me. Some of the words that he circled were that he loved excellence and that he wanted to be the best. And when I saw that, it really made a lot of sense as to why did he go after quality things in his life, like um, Brian is very particular about his electronics. He's particular about maybe the type of car he drives, and even the type of profession that he is in. And I would find at myself sometimes who didn't value maybe excellence quite as much as he did. That um, when I saw that, I understood that if he truly loved excellence, then he must have seen that in me.
That's right.
And that certainly changed my perspective about that quality in him of going, well, maybe excellence isn't so bad,
And maybe even about yourself.
even about myself, because it made me want to pursue excellence more, to be more in tune with you.
Yeah.
So, do you remember any of the words that I circled?
I remember legacy was big for you.
Absolutely.
That you really, family and legacy are big things, which really kind of plays into this whole podcast.
Yes. Because I value, where am I going? I think I also circled words that said like future generations. Now, between Brian and I, we have been together for 40 years.
Hmm.
We have been married 37, and we have 6 children. So you can see where I, as a mother, would be thinking how, how I raise my children and my relationships with my children will determine, what's the next relationship that's coming. And we are on the brink of getting our first grandchild. We're pretty excited
Can't
about
wait.
that's
Yeah,
coming.
yeah, that's going to be cool.
It is going to be cool.
Yeah, so that was something that really made me appreciate that you had a long vision about
Mm,
yourself, and I think that's one of the great things about um, the core values test and doing it with those that you're in close relationship with, because it really helps you understand the other person better.
yes. At the time when we did this several years ago, we had our 2 youngest living with us still,
Hmm.
and we made them take the core value test. And I
Yeah,
remember sitting around our kitchen table and just kind of sharing. And one of our daughters is much more like Brian, more on the introverted side, and then the youngest is more on the extroverted side.
definitely.
And she and I both had 30 something, and then you and our child number 5 had about 11 or 12. So even that was just so telltale of who each person was.
Yeah.
And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say. And so a lot of the characteristics that were in us, we could see in
In our
our
kids.
yeah, in our 2
Yeah.
youngest.
Yeah.
So really, really helpful tool. So if you can, we'll give you the link for that core value test. It will be on our
In the show notes.
in the show
No
notes.
show
So
notes. Yeah.
after the show, go there. Like I said, it's like 3 minutes to take this, but you will get a lot of insight into who you are, what resonates with you. And then you'll be able to possibly ask someone else that you're in a relationship, hey, would you mind taking this little 3-minute test? And just so I want to know you a little better.
Yeah, and I think an important part of that test, though, also is that you may circle 30, you may circle 5, but really what you want to cut it down to are what are the 3
Yes.
that best describe myself? And I found that to be very helpful for me over the years to understand that ethics is important to me,
Hmm.
um, and excellence and humor. You know,
Yes.
those things and creativity also, creativity, humor, and ethics, and be ethical in what I do. And I think that pretty well describes who I am.
I would call those the non negotiables. What
Yeah.
we would say, I don't budge on these. These are very important to me. And this is truly my inner nucleus. Thank you, Nacho
Yeah,
Libre.
that's right. Reference to the nacho.
Yes, the Nacho, the inner man. Um, One of the things that we also have worked on to fine tune and really bring some harmony to our relationship was, we began casting a vision for our relationship, is in our marriage, is
Yeah.
that we had a very definite and clear outline of what you wanted for a career.
Hmm.
And we pursued that and we got it, all of it. Do you want to elaborate a little more on what that looked like for you?
Well, Julie and I had been married all of 3 weeks before I started my first day of medical school.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was quite a journey. There was 4 years of medical school, and then we got into residency. I got into residency. Julie graciously came with me.
Yes, I came with you.
Um, but that was 5 years, and then I wanted to do a fellowship, so that was another year. And then we started my private practice. And so um, over that 10-year period, we knew what the next stage was, and we had we had something to judge when we had met the goal. When I graduated from medical school, that was a definite
Right. Check the
meet your goal.
box.
Check the box, exactly. But what we found with being married and having kids, you're busy. You're doing things, and kids get into school, so there's school activities, there's sports, and everything's going. And I thought that all the stuff would just happen. It just you do the things, and it's going to turn out okay. But just like if you don't make a plan for a business or a professional career, you don't always reach that plan.
You can
If
actually be way off course.
Yeah, be way off course. And so I think we found that in some areas of our family, in our relationship, that was not what we were thinking would happen. And we went through a pretty tough season. There was actually a time that we didn't think we were going to make it as a married couple, and that's a story for another time. But we're we're very happy with where we are now. But it took a lot of work on the relationship.
Yes, and I would say that quality relationships do take the intentionality that we're talking about. Defining
Yeah,
what do you want, taking the time to write it out. And I always say that, you know, your list of what you want in life should be one page max.
yeah,
It should be something that you can write down in concise words. This is what I want. I can think of one of the things. I began writing my life goals in 2013. That's
hmm
when I began to realize that I wasn't getting what I really wanted in life. And one of the goals that I put down was I needed to talk kindly to my children.
mm,
I didn't necessarily grow up with that in my home of just speaking. I don't know. I just found myself not being as respectful as I saw you being. And I saw a difference in how our children were relating to us. And I saw that what you were doing was working, and what I was doing was not having the same effect. And so I really took inspiration from you because I saw how you related so kindly to our children. And I thought, well, I want that. So I put it on my goal sheet. So when I would be in the thick of a moment with one of our kids, it would, because it was short and to the point, it would pop into my head. And I would think instantly, oh, wait a minute, that's on my list. And
yeah,
I would take a moment, pause, and I would reframe reframe the situation. Okay, how am I going to say this? In the moment you want to throttle the kid.
yeah, definitely.
But it was like, no, that's not going to be effective. That's not
Yeah.
going to get what I want with this child. And I would calm down and approach it very differently. And I began to see results just because I had written a simple phrase: talk kindly to my kids.
I have to really hand it to you because um, you really stuck to that. That meant, a good relationship with their children meant a lot to you. And so man, good job, because you made a conscious effort to do that day in, day out, which that's hard. Doing it day in, day out is hard.
Mhm.
But you did that. And yeah, I think your relationship with the kids really has changed over the years. And I know they see that as well. So good
Thank
job.
you. I'm going
Yeah.
to take that.
Yeah. Give me
Yeah,
a
I'm going to
pound it there. All
put
right.
that in my little heart pocket. Well, and I think that also, we began to fine tune what we wanted. Um, Years ago, we'd heard a speaker tell us that you should go do what was called a marriage vision retreat.
hmm
We had never heard of that. We'd never thought to do that. So that was kind of in that season where we're not really seeing what we want in our marriage and our family. So that idea came. So we did. We went and did a 3-day marriage vision retreat. And the suggestion was is that you get away with your spouse or your loved one, and you spend time in the morning talking things out, asking yourself the hard questions. Okay, why are we together? and what is our purpose being together. And that could be a parent-child relationship of, why did God give you as my child? And what is so special about you? What's unique about you? And how do I help you as a child develop that? It can go that direction as well. Just a special solo trip with a child.
Yeah, and you've done that with several of our kids.
Yes.
And actually, I guess I've done that too
Yes, you have.
with each of our kids, and I think that's so important.
Yes, building that quality
that-
one-on-one.
Yeah, one-on-one.
Yeah, very personal. So anyhow, we did that. At the end of that weekend, we came away with two things that we realized that we were really gifted in, and that was giving. That we carry some generosity in us, that we like to support ministries and different things that we see are making a difference in the world.
Yeah.
We like to pour into that. But we also realized that we had a very strong gifting in the gifting of hospitality.
Yeah.
We enjoy having people in our home, and that is one of the main ways that we build new friendships.
And you'll probably find over these podcasts that Julie is a party waiting to happen.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Dance party, heavy on the dance party.
Yeah.
The truth is that we honestly are all dancers in our family. We started a tradition. One of the ways to keep our children in the kitchen to do dishes was we would put on like 80s rock or
The
best or the latest that they were listening to. And that was one way that we could keep them in the kitchen. So we would all be pulling the latest dance moves that we had seen. But, to this day, all 8 of us are pretty decent dancers, but we call it idiot dancing. Like, we don't really care what we look like. We're just out having fun. It looks just like how it looked in our kitchen, 10, 12 years ago.
Yeah.
Idiot dancing. We're all for it.
Yeah. No, that was good stuff. But yeah, having a plan, that's huge.
It is huge.
It is huge.
And, whether if it's just you right now, what is your plan? What do you want in life? Those are really important questions to take the time. Honestly, 30 minutes alone. Get by yourself and ask yourself, what do I want? One sheet of paper. Just begin to formulate what is important to me. Maybe what's lacking in my life.
Yeah.
There may be some things as you sit there and ponder of, you know what, I'm wasting too much time here, and that's not giving me any time to pursue this in my life. And I really would like to develop that.
Yeah.
You may have a special gifting or interest that is totally getting sidelined because you're not in the thick of things, like we were talking about, the busyness of life. You're not taking any time to develop something that really is close to your heart. It may be one of those things that was on your list. You may have a talent of a musical ability or artist or writing, or, maybe there's a book inside of you that's never getting written because you're too busy with maybe some non-essentials.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, we had to carve out time to make this podcast. We're pretty busy people, but we knew it was important to bring some of the experiences that we've gone through. We felt like, we and guests that we're going to be bringing on, that we had some wisdom of years of experience of learning to relate with each other that would be beneficial to you, our listener. And we felt it was important enough to, set up the studio, get the equipment, put this into action.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think part of also what we carry is we carry a heart for people. We love people.
We do love people.
We do.
Yeah.
And we want to see other people thrive in their relationships. We want to see them become successful and to enjoy life. Again, we go back to our opening teaser is your quality of life is directly related to the quality of your relationships. One stinking relationship can really
wreak havoc on your day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If it's at work or if it's at home and you find yourself that you don't even want to go home because I have to face this every day.
Yeah. Or if there's a coworker that you do not get along with. being intentional and saying, okay, what do I want to accomplish with this coworker?
Mm-hmm.
Do I want to just get along? Do I want to ignore him? What is it what do we want to accomplish? And just having sit down and think about that can make you intentional and think about, okay, well, I know they like donuts. Maybe if I bring them donuts tomorrow morning, they'll cut me some slack,
Yes, a peace
Uh,
offering.
but there's all kinds of things, but it takes actually sitting and thinking and considering that person. And I think that's a huge part of relationships is considering the other person and not just how it affects you, but like, well, what's their world like?
Yes, I think a lot about that of, someone that maybe you're having some difficulty with is learning a little bit of their backstory.
Oh,
Some
yeah,
of the people that we have sat down with, because we've been involved with other couples and helping them hash out some of their relationship issues. When we hear some of their backstories, we just want to cry. We hear about their home lives as they were growing up, and you can see, oh my
you're like,
gosh,
wow, okay,
that
this makes sense.
that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah,
And so, I think that also is a very important aspect of looking at yourself, but also looking at the person that you are in relationship and learning about yourself, learning about others, which in the end is loving people
yeah,
and loving them well.
yeah. And you hear about being givers and takers,
Yes,
and you have to realize, okay, am I more of a taker in this relationship or am I more of a giver? And that's one of those hard questions, but it's so worthwhile
mhm,
to gain insight into yourself that can make a huge difference. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, well, we kind of want to wrap up this first episode, but we do want to tell you that what is coming up is in the next episode, we will be talking about some very fun ways of how to build relationships. How do you find friends? Some
yeah,
real practical ways that we have done in our lives that have helped us establish some relationships that have gone on, you know, 10, 20 years. And then others of how are we developing brand new relationships with people that we come in contact. And we have some real tools and real action steps that we take that when
yeah.
we meet someone, it's like, okay, we have got a
And we
plan.
have some guests to discuss that very
Yes, we
thing
do. Yes, we do.
about their relationship and the friendship that they have developed over the years. I think it's going to be a cool story to hear that.
I
Yeah,
cannot wait to hear what they have to say.
yeah,
So you will want to join us on our next episode of Relation EQ.
that's right. Enjoy it. And be sure to catch it on all your favorite podcast listening platforms and our YouTube channel as well. And be sure to follow our channel so you don't miss any of these things because you don't want to miss an episode.
Absolutely not.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Relation EQ. For more information on how you can fine-tune your relationships, visit our Facebook page at Relation EQ or email us at relationeq@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow our channel on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or hit subscribe on your favorite listening platform so you never miss an episode. Join us again next week for more stories on Relation EQ.